So, two quick things before the start of today's episode. First, there will be no new episode of Podcast Racing next week due to religious observance on Good Friday. The next episode of Podcast Racing will premiere in 2 weeks on Friday, April 9th at noon Eastern Standard Time. Second, I've decided to make this episode talking about the Snyder Cut of Justice League at the very last minute. So episodes 8 and 9 of the podcast premiering respectively, on April 9th and 16th will say episodes 7 and 8 in the title cards, even though they are actually episodes 8 and 9. So sorry about the confusion, thanks for understanding, and I hope you enjoy today's episode of Podcast Racing. Oh, and one last thing before we start the episode is that while recording for the episode, I forgot to mention that I really liked the "Do you bleed" reference line from the Justice League theatrical version, and they cut that out for Snyder's version, and I wish that they include that line in addition to a bunch of other stuff that I liked from the theatrical version that I wish were brought back for the Snyder cut, but you'll hear all about all that stuff later. So yeah, now let's start the episode.
Now this is podcast.
For really long hours later, hello there, and welcome to a brand new episode of my podcast Racing. Today, I am by myself, unfortunately, but despite you only hearing my input today, I still hope that you enjoyed today's episode. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking in-depth, spoiler-filled thoughts, sharing spoiler-filled thoughts on the Zack Snyder version of the Justice League movie. So again, spoilers. So if you have not seen the Justice League Snyder Cut version yet on HBO Max, please do not listen to this episode yet. Watch the Snyder Cut first, and then watch the podcast. So for those of you who don't know, Zack Snyder directed Man of Steel and Batman v Superman in the DC Extended Cinematic Universe. And both movies received very mixed reception, and Zack Snyder himself is a very divisive director. His very first very divisive movie was Watchmen. A lot of people loved it, a lot of people hated it. A lot of people loved and hated Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. But despite that, Warner Brothers still had faith in him to direct the upcoming Justice League movie. But unfortunately, during production of that movie, his daughter Autumn passed away, and Snyder and his wife Deborah, who were both involved in the making of Justice League, steps down from the film, and Warner Brothers hired Joss Whedon to. Initially, they hired him just to add some more jokes and polish the script a little, but then they gave him full directorial duties against Snyder's wishes, but Warner Brothers wanted to rush the film out, so they gave Whedon directorial duties, but still gave Snyder the credit. And initially, the Justice League movie received overall slightly more positive reviews, not glowing, but slightly more positive reviews than compared to Batman v Superman and Man of Steel. In fact, when I initially saw the Justice League theatrical version in the theater, I initially liked that one more than Batman v Superman and Man of Steel. However, I recently rewatched the theatrical version of Justice League on HBO Max, and it really does not hold up. There's still some really good things in it. Most of Ezra Miller's jokes. Henry Cavill as Superman is awesome. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman doesn't get a whole lot to do, but she's still great as Wonder Woman. There is still some really good things in the theatrical version of Justice League, but rewatching it, the cracks were a lot more noticeable, especially Henry Cavill's mouth. Oh man, and but not just that. Like the way that the story is structured, and you can tell I could tell watching the theatrical version, which like that it was very disjointed, and it felt like a film that was where the pieces were forced together and it didn't really flow along in a cohesive narrative. I don't know if cohesive is the right adjective, but whatever. So yeah, so basically, what I'm trying to say is that the theatrical version of Justice League I initially liked fine enough, but it really does not hold up upon rewatch. But despite my now negative feelings towards Justice League, a lot of people this is definitely a very different opinion, contrarian opinion than I have compared to a lot of other people. But a lot of people were rooting for Zack Snyder's version of Justice League to be released with the hashtag "Release the Snyder Cut" going around. And I was not in this group of people. I don't really like Zack Snyder that much as a director. I think that two of his films, 300 and Watchmen, have more pros and cons, but for the most part, his films have more cons than pros. Even though I do think that he is really talented when it comes to crafting really awesome, visually spectacular sequences like the opening credits of Watchmen and the warehouse fight between Batman and Luther's goons in Batman v Superman. But I don't. But I think that he gets a little bit too ambitious at times, and he's not very good with uh, story and character development. I don't think that he. I think that there's a lot more negatives to him as a director than positives. So I don't know. I wasn't really thinking that his version of Justice League could be so much better than the theatrical version, and I honestly didn't want to see a, his version of Justice League because I just assumed that it would be bad, and even until recently. So I'm recording this podcast the day of Thursday, March 18th. I'm recording this the day of the Snyder Cut being released on HBO Max. Even just last week, prior to recording this episode, I was absolutely insistent that I would not watch a Snyder Cut because I had no faith in it. And then at the very, very last minute, only a couple of days ago, even though I had HBO Max, I had no interest in watching it. But only a couple days ago, I was like, you know what? Fine, I'll watch it, but I'm not going to have my hopes up, and I don't think it's going to be a great movie. And I will say this: a lot of other people will definitely agree with me when they say that the Snyder Cut is definitely better than the theatrical version that Joss Whedon oversaw, supervised of Justice League. The Snyder Cut is definitely better than the theatrical version. But does that make the Snyder Cut good? No, it doesn't. There is a lot of good in the Snyder Cut of Justice League, but but a lot of the same cons from the theatrical version are issues that I have with the Snyder Cut as well. And a couple of the moments that really worked in the theatrical version of Justice League are cut out of the Snyder Cut, which disappointed me honestly. So one of the few really awesome moments from the theatrical version that I really liked, and possibly my favorite scene. This is kind of gonna be kind of sad to say, but my favorite scene from the theatrical version of Justice League isn't even in the actual movie. It's the post-credit scene when the Flash and Superman race to see who's faster, and the loser has to buy brunch. I thought that was kind of funny. The first brunch joke really didn't work, but the second brunch joke was funny. But I really liked that scene, and even though it's not actually part of the movie, I really liked it. I thought that it was fun and funny, but they didn't have that in the Snyder Cut, and that disappointed me. And I didn't actually read beforehand that I didn't know before watching the Snyder Cut that Snyder said that absolutely no footage that Whedon shot would be in his version I didn't know that. So yeah, I was a part of me was actually kind of expecting to see that awesome scene from the Justice League theatrical version, but it wasn't in there, and that did disappoint me a little. Also, there's this might seem like a nitpick to you guys, but this really bothered me. I actually really didn't like the score. I honestly thought that I do think that a couple of themes that Junkie XL, Tom, whatever his last name is, Tom H something, are better than some of the themes in Danny Elfman's score. But I honestly think that overall, Danny Elfman's score is better than Junkie XL's score. There's this weird like choir, like kind of like angelic sounding kind of music that's mainly played whenever the Amazons or Wonder Woman is on screen, and I that took me out of the movie. I really did not like that score at all. A majority of the score that Junkie XL did for the Snyder cut just did not sound good to me at all. Despite the fact that my favorite scene from the theatrical version was cut out from the Snyder cut, a lot of the other really great moments from the theatrical version uh, are in the Snyder cut, and it just I think I gave Joss Whedon a little bit too much credit initially when I saw the theatrical version, because if Zack Snyder said that only footage that he shot would be in the Snyder cut, then it was him. It was because of him uh, that these moments in the theatrical version were so good. The scene where the Amazons are trying to prevent Steppenwolf from getting the first mother box. The scene when Superman first wakes up and the Flash tries to go faster than Superman but can't. When Clark sees Lois for the first time and he reunites with his adopted mother Martha. These are all moments that really worked in the theatrical version, and now I see that that's not because of Joss Whedon. It's because of Zack Snyder. That's pretty sad. It's pretty sad for the theatrical version, but it works really well. These moments that worked in the theatrical version worked really well in the Snyder cut as well. The scene where Steppenwolf gets a second box, his fight with the Atlanteans was really goofy and fake looking, and it was in the theatrical version, and it was really goofy and fake looking in the Snyder cut as well. A lot of CGI in both movies were pretty fake looking and way too noticeable. I mean, I guess maybe more casual movie goers, watchers won't notice, but as me who kind of studies and analyzes film, I noticed, and I know a lot of people are gonna be upset with me for saying this, but cinematography wise, I think, and color palette wise, I think that the theatrical version actually looks better than the than the Snyder cut. I think that the Snyder cut does look a little bit too dark at times. A couple of times I had to brighten the I had to increase the brightness uh, on my laptop. And I think I liked that they added more color to the theatrical version. I thought that it gave the film a little bit more life, but in the in the Snyder cut, cinematography wise, it just looks like really drab and like Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. Although I really like how there are a lot of good camera movements and angles in the Snyder cut. Many of them that were cut out of the theatrical version. But the biggest improvement, and I'm definitely not the only one to say this. The biggest improvement of the Snyder cut over the theatrical version is Ray Fisher as Cyborg. I'm actually kind of baffled that Warner Brothers decided that they cut out his arc from the theatrical version for the theatrical version, because in the Snyder cut I was genuinely taken aback to see just how great and how emotional and the excellent character development that Cyborg went through in the Snyder Cut. Like one of my favorite scenes in the Snyder Cut is when uh, Cyborg is finally able to get into the Unity, and the Mother Box tempts him by saying that he could be reunited with his parents and no longer has to be alone. And then Cyborg says, "But I'm not alone." I really liked that scene a lot, and Cyborg definitely was the heart and soul of the Snyder Cut, and the fact that Warner Brothers or Joss Whedon or whoever decided to cut his arc out, someone must have had. I can see now why Ray Fisher is complaining so much, because someone, whether it be Joss Whedon or someone at Warner Brothers, Walter Hamada, whatever, must have had some kind of agenda against Ray Fisher, because man, his arc was great. Wow, I'm really really shocked that they like cut his arc out, because his arc was the best character arc in the entire movie. The only issue that I have with Cyborg isn't doesn't really have to do with his character as well. It's more of a directing aesthetic choice. Why does the flashback of the football game, happen in the snow? Like, wouldn't that, like, I get that, in Snyder's mind, it looks cooler, it looks more cinematic, but in reality, wouldn't the game get canceled or postponed if there was bad weather like that? I also thought that Flash was much better, and I think that almost all of his jokes in the Snyder Cut worked a lot better than many of his jokes in the theatrical version. I'm really glad though that the Flash's best joke was something that Snyder actually filmed, which was, "Oh hey, that's the bat signal. Oh shh, sorry, that's your bat signal." I thought that joke was really funny in the theatrical version, and I'm glad that that's something that Snyder actually filmed and not Joss. I really liked what they did with Black Suit Superman. When I saw the pictures of Black Suit Superman, I was like, "Oh no, don't tell me we're gonna have an evil Superman." Thankfully, that was not the case. That was not the case at all. They Clark Kent just happens to get a black suit, but he was still uh, a good guy, and I really like that. I don't like seeing Superman as this moody, flawed character. I guess like he can be flawed, but just he's a little too like dark and moody and oh woe is me in Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. And one of the positives of the theatrical version, even after rewatching it, is Henry Cavill as Superman. I really liked that brighter take on him, and the take on him in the Snyder Cut was overall a much like brighter, like a brighter, more optimistic, hopeful version of Clark in comparison in the Snyder Cut in comparison to Batman v Superman and Man of Steel. So I really like that a lot. In neither version, Aquaman and Wonder Woman, they're just kind of there to look cool. Aquaman just showing up to help our heroes and to stop the wave. It was an issue that I had with the theatrical version, him just showing up out of random and kind of out of character, and it was an issue that I had with the Snyder Cut as well. But I mean, Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot, I love them both, and they're both really awesome as their characters. So even though they didn't really have big character driven arcs in the movie, I was still fine with their presence, and I do think though that I do wish though that they included the clip of uh, Aquaman sitting on Wonder Woman's lasso, because I thought that was really cute and funny in the theatrical version. So I wish that they did bring that back for a Snyder cut, but whatever. But new stuff that they brought back, I mean, not brought back, sorry, new stuff that they brought into the Snyder Cut that wasn't in the theatrical version. Willem Dafoe as Volko. It was a nice tease towards the Aquaman movie, but since we've already seen the Aquaman movie, it wasn't as impactful. Jared Leto was wasted. He didn't need to be in the movie at all, and honestly, the lines that they gave him weren't really that great, and I didn't like that it was part of a dream sequence. I'm honestly kind of sick of dream sequences now in movies, so I didn't really like that. What they did with Martian Manhunter, I thought was pointless and tedious as well, and the CGI on him again didn't look that great. I did like that the Martian Manhunter turned out to be that general from Man of Steel, but besides that, what they did, the dialogue that they gave him and his presence in the story was like, eh. I disliked how. I mean, I know that Snyder was probably gonna set this up for a Justice League 2 or something like that, but they didn't really bring back the they didn't really address the Lois Lane as a key dream sequence from Batman v Superman involving the Flash and Bruce Wayne, obviously. But I mean, I know that Zack Snyder was setting that up for a Justice League 2, but while making the Snyder cut, when he was given the $70 million from Warner Brothers to finish his Snyder cut, I do wish that he, instead of leaving it at a cliffhanger, I wish that he resolved a lot of these conflicts. Maybe that would have caused the movie to be 5 hours long, but I do wish that he would have like resolved these conflicts, since there's no way that Warner Brothers is gonna let him make a Snyder, let him finish his vision and make a Snyder cut 2 on HBO Max or anything like that. I did like the a lot of the action, even though the CGI wasn't that great, and I did miss a lot of the good-looking colors from the theatrical version of Justice League. I did think that the action was cool. The violence didn't really add anything for me personally. I think that it would have been the same movie. Maybe even a little bit more digestible if there was no blood and gore and all that stuff. The blood and gore didn't really add. It wasn't like Logan, where the blood and gore actually contributed in a positive way to the overall mood, tone, atmosphere of the movie, the universe in which the movie takes place in. But the blood and gore in the Snyder Cut didn't really add anything for me. Same with when I watched the Ultimate version of Batman v Superman. Having it be rated R didn't really add anything for me. Like the Snyder Cut could have been PG-13 with no blood and gore, and it would have been. I mean, I guess them beheading Steppenwolf couldn't do that at the end, but I mean they could have just stabbed him and kicked him back to Darkseid or whatever. Darkseid was cool though. Darkseid was cool, and I liked that he wasn't in the movie a lot. But unfortunately, I can't say the same about Steppenwolf. I'm seeing a lot of these reviews online on YouTube saying that Steppenwolf is so much better than in the than in the Snyder Cut, than in the theatrical version. He's so much better, and he actually has a character. No, he doesn't. He's still just a big mean bad CGI bad guy. And I mean, they do give him a reason for they do give him a reason, a little bit of a drive motive behind him gathering the mother boxes in the Snyder Cut, where in the theatrical version he was just like, mother. That I'm glad that they cut out the dialogue with the mother though with Steppenwolf though. That was just cringy. But yeah, Steppenwolf. I don't know what these YouTube reviewers are talking about, because Steppenwolf was not improved at all in the Snyder Cut. He was still just a big mean old bad guy. The scene with Iris West was cute, but I'm a little disappointed that they didn't do more with her. I mean, I guess I don't know what else they could do with her, but I don't know, just her being in one scene. Maybe Snyder was planning on using her more for Justice League, his version of Justice League 2, or maybe Warner Brothers made him include her to reference or foreshadow the Flashpoint movie when he was still involved in the making of the Justice League before Whedon was hired, before his daughter Autumn unfortunately passed away. but I don't know. I wish that we saw a bit more of her because I like Kiersey Clemens, especially in that movie Hearts Beat Loud. If you haven't seen Hearts Beat Loud, it's not an amazing movie, but it's really cute and enjoyable, and I believe it's on Hulu right now. I think so. Yeah, check out Hearts Beat Loud, Kiersey Clemens on Hulu. Pretty good movie. I really disliked that the movie was 4 hours long. It definitely did not need to be that long at all. The movie just should have ended, in my opinion, with uh, the same way that the theatrical version ended with Superman, in the long beige long coat, him opening it up like referencing what Christopher Reeve did, him opening it up to reveal the Superman logo. I did like though that in the Snyder cut that he was wearing the black Superman suit because I think that I can't talk. Sorry, Henry Cavill in black looks a lot better. He looks a lot better in black than he does in the blue Superman suit. I love the blue Superman suit, but just on Henry Cavill specifically, I think black looks better. But yeah, I did not. I did not think that the movie needed to be 4 hours long. They could have cut out the entirety of uh, the entire epilogue after Henry Cavill Clark Kent opens up the long coat to reveal the Superman suit. They could have cut out the part with Jared Leto, Martian Manhunter, that whole stupid dream sequence at the end, the Lex Luthor part at the end. They didn't need to have any of that. I wish that they had just cut that out, especially knowing that Warner Brothers is not going to let Zack Snyder finish his vision. They only let him finish part one of his vision, but Zack Snyder had envisioned a two-part Justice League series, but there's no way they're gonna let him make part two. So I wish that they had just cut out all that stuff at the end. I think that a lot of the exposition, their exposition in the beginning of the movie is essential to know for later in the movie, but it just takes up so much time, and I think that the first like hour of the movie or so could have been trimmed down quite a bit as well. So basically, the stuff in the beginning, no particular scene in the beginning needs to be cut entirely, but several scenes in the beginning need to be trimmed down, and the epilogue at the end, the majority of that, especially with Jared Leto and Manhunter, definitely need to be cut down. And in fact, and honestly, watching it for the first 2 hours, I was thinking it's an improvement over the theatrical version for sure, but I wouldn't necessarily call it a good movie. It's just meh. However, the film improves in quality significantly right after Lois and Clark reunite. Silas Stone sacrificing himself, and what's it called? Silas Stone sacrificing himself. Even though a clip of that was stupidly used in the trailer for the Snyder cut, I still like. I had forgotten about that. I had forgotten about that clip. So seeing Silas Stone go with the mother box into back into the lab and kill himself so that the good guys could win essentially. I I was really taken aback like that. I had forgotten about that clip from the trailer, even though I'd watched the trailer before watching the Snyder Cut movie, and seeing the amazing acting, seeing the pain and horror on Cyborg's face, and the amazing acting from Ray Fisher. I actually started tearing up when Silas Stone passed away and Cyborg is grieving for his dad. I really liked that a lot. And I thought that the digging up Clark Kent's body scene from the Snyder Cut was handled much better than the what's it called, the theatrical version. I think that the joke about Flash possibly having a chance with Wonder Woman and that conversation between Wonder Woman and Aquaman was much better than Flash trying to fist pump what's it called, Cyborg. Yeah, I thought that that was much better. But anyways, but yeah, I think that part 5 and 6 of the Snyder cut is like 8 out of 10. Is an 8 out of 10 movie, and I think that the stuff before that is like a 5 out of 10 movie. So and the epilogue at the end was just unnecessary. So I think that overall, I was initially gonna give up while watching it. I was initially thinking this is like a 5 out of 10 movie. It's just eh. But then the film's quality really improves. I think that the sequence where Superman wakes up, where they revive Superman and they fight him, is handled much better overall. In the even if the CGI and fight choreography isn't the best, I think that the way that they handle it, reviving him and him reuniting with Lois and adding in that Silas Stone sacrifice at the end, that all that stuff is handled way better and executed much better than in the theatrical version. But and I also liked how it really bothered me rewatching the theatrical version, seeing Clark Kent shirtless, and then next time we see him, he has a shirt on. I like how we actually get to see Lois put a shirt on him. I don't know, like that's such a minor thing, but I liked that, and I liked Lois and Clark's dialogue together. But yeah, the film really improved for me when Silas Stone sacrificed himself, and I I did enjoy the final battle, even if it was a bit too CGI heavy, and I really liked basically the Silas Stone sacrifice scene and the scene with Cyborg being tempted by the Mother Box. Those two scenes for me were so good that I decided to raise my rating for the Snyder Cut from a 5 out of 10 to a 6 out of 10. Now, some of you might be thinking, "Oh my gosh, 6 out of 10? That means he really didn't like it, right?" Well, no, that's not true. In my opinion, 6 out of 10, basically how I rate movies is that everything 5 out of 10 and below is considered a bad movie or a not good movie, but 6 and above is good, is a scores I give to movies that I would consider at least good. I think that the Snyder Cut does have a lot of issues, and I don't know if I'd go so far to say that it's necessarily a good movie, but it's definitely not a good film. But because the film, there are a lot of issues with the filmmaking, but I do think that there are a lot more good than things than bad things in the Snyder Cut, which is why I give it a more positive score, which is a 6 out of 10. And one last thing that I'll say about the Snyder Cut is that even though there's like blood and gore and dark themes and all that in the Snyder Cut, it's surprisingly Zack Snyder's most heartwarming movie. I think that yeah, like I really like it's the most like heartwarming movie, and there were several moments in the film that really got to me. Besides Cyborg scenes with his father sacrificing himself and him being tempted by the mother box, and then standing his ground saying "I'm not alone." One of the first scenes with him where he helps that waitress with her money problems, I teared up at that scene as well. And I also really liked in the beginning when Wonder Woman stops those terrorists, but then the scene continues and she talks to that little girl, and the little girl asks, "Can I be like you one day?" And then Wonder Woman responds with, "You can be whoever you want, princess." I really liked that. I think I really liked moments like that, and Flash when he's running back in time to save everybody, and he's saying like, "Dad, I just want you to know I'm one of the best of the best." Like there are a lot of really heartwarming scenes in this movie, and I know that a lot of these scenes were probably filmed before Snyder left production, before his daughter unfortunately passed away, but maybe Snyder knew that there was maybe his daughter was really struggling around the the time of he was filming Justice League, and maybe he was aware of that, and he was trying to help her, and maybe he knew that she was struggling, and he had his daughter on his mind while filming Justice League, and his love for his daughter and thinking about family translated onto the screen, and I think that that's a factor as to why the Snyder cut of Justice League is Zack Snyder's most heartwarming movie, and I think it's definitely his best movie. But right as of now, that's all I have to say about the Snyder Cut. If I forgot anything, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll address it. And let me know your guys' thoughts on the Snyder Cut. Did it live up to your expectations or not? And yeah, I think that that's it for now. So thank you all so much for watching another episode of my podcast Racing. I hope all of you are doing well, staying safe, and yeah, see you guys not next week, but in 2 weeks from now, April 9th at noon Eastern Standard Time. Bye.